Hi everyone, it's Phil here from Ashland Leather. I wanted to show you some of the finer details and what goes into making some of our wallets that we're shipping out today. And let's take a preview of what is shipping out today. Up first, we have a 100% English Tan Dublin Johnny the Fox, an English Tan Dublin Tony the Ant, a black marbled shell cordovan Tony the Ant, a color 8 marbled shell cordovan Johnny the Fox, a natural shell cordovan Tony the Ant, a natural shell cordovan Bugs Moran, black chrome excel Valet tray, English Tan Dublin Valet tray, a black shell cordovan Bugs Moran, natural shell cordovan Johnny the Fox, a black Dublin Johnny the Fox, a 100% cobalt blue Dublin Johnny the Fox, a color number 8 chrome excel Johnny the Fox, natural Lancaster Johnny the Fox, teal latigo Johnny the Fox, a cigar shell cordovan Johnny the Fox with a reverse interior, a Frank the Enforcer in raw shell cordovan, a Frank the Enforcer in color 8 chrome excel, and a Bugs Moran in ultraviolet with reverse interior. So I want to give a quick shout out to Walletopia, and Walletopia is a really interesting YouTube channel that I stumbled across last week because he did a nice review of this wallet, in fact, the Tony the Ant in English Tan Dublin. And thank you over there, Walletopia, for doing that for us. It really means a lot for you to take a closer look at our wallets. I know it helps a lot of people to figure out what's the right wallet for them. And you guys I'd encourage you to check out Walletopia. They have some really good content over there from all different makers and different leathers, all sorts of great stuff. But he started pointing out some features on some wallets, and I thought I should do the same here because I often get a little deep on the leather chat because I love the leather. That's the whole reason we started making wallets, was because I love the leather so much. But we also do a nice job making them. And let me show you some of the details I'm talking about. What we do at Ashland is we tailor the leather to our specific designs. So on this Johnny the Fox, we've picked specifically thick, or a specific thickness, I should say, of a steer hide of Dublin on the outside. This is 4-ounce thick Dublin. I find the 4-ounce stuff to be the perfect thickness for this specific wallet. And on the inside, these are custom made, and these are a little bit thinner. So when we're talking about detail and attention to detail, if you were to use this 4-ounce thick exterior piece on all of these interior card holders, it would be super, super thick. So we have to pick naturally thin pieces of leather. Now, each hide is a little bit different, and the horse hides that we are able to procure from Horween are naturally thinner. They're roughly 2 to 3 ounces. Sometimes they get a little thicker, but we have to pick specifically thin pieces of horsehide for the interior of this wallet because of all those layers. Here at Ashland, we do not like to thin down any of the leather or skive down the leather or split down the leather because it really reduces and compromises the strength of the leather itself. When you start to remove some of the fibers in this cross section of leather, regardless of how thin or how thick it is, it's almost like taking the foundation away from your house, and you really reduce the strength. So we see a little bit more ripping, a little bit more tearing, a little bit more, just a little bit worse in general for durability when you thin down the leather. So we don't do that. And the reason we came up with that is because we've seen a lot of wallets before I started making wallets that have a lot of skived and turned edges. And what that means is they're taking the edge of something like this, thinning it down and wrapping it around the other side, and they glue it down to the back. Now, we don't do that because all of the wallets that I've seen have done that are broken within 3 to 12 months, let's say. And that's not across the board for everything, but the ones that I've seen, those are the things that rip. When you thin down the leather, fold it over an edge, it looks really nice, but it does not last. And that's something that we want to avoid. All of the stuff I make is guaranteed to last forever. So if it ever breaks or something like that rips, I will repair or replace it for no charge. So obviously I don't want to spend money repairing and replacing everything. So it's in my best interest to get you the right wallet right out of the box. There's a couple other places that I see wallets rip. And if you notice here, across the center, we don't have any stitching going across the top there. That's because when this wallet folds and flexes, we often see the stitch start to pop out where the wallet flexes. Now, I do have a stitch on the top here. This one gets a little bit less force in it, but I have seen them rip there too. It's kind of rare, but the leather is actually strong enough to when it flexes enough, it will actually pop that stitch. But we avoid that at all costs. I happen to have made that choice here because I thought it looked a little bit better to have this stitch go all the way around the back. I just thought it was like a more interesting aesthetic. But we could actually remove that and just have the stitch end right about here and not go all the way around the outside. The other thing that we've done on stitching is, again, not across the top here in the centers. So when it flexes, it does not rip, but we also reinforce these stitches here. Everywhere there is a seam or a stress point, we've double or even triple stitched each of those sections. So you can see in the top center here, this is double stitched, and there, and here, and on the bottom. So everywhere there's a stress point, we've doubled up on it. And we've taken a lot of care to think about the stitching. There's other things, like on this other wallet. Let's take a look at the Tony the Ant that Walletopia reviewed. There's a couple little details on here that if you're a leather crafter, you might want to know. What we do that's a little bit different, and some people don't think about, is we think about our stitch placements. So on something like this Tony the Ant, where this bill slot overlaps and connects to the middle piece here, we always try to land our stitch just beyond the top of that bill slot. So there's no sag in the thread. We want that tension to be just perfect so it doesn't rip when you're flexing out the bill slot like this. We want the wallet and the leather to be held together just perfectly right here. These are a couple little details that I don't often talk about because I'm more obsessed with the leather. And speaking of leather, we, on the Dublin here, this backside, this is not a suede flesh. We've taken a little bit of extra care to fill in those fibers. So there's a lot of little things that we're doing that I should probably go into more detail about. If you're a leather crafter and you're interested in some more concepts like stitching, skiving, or any of those things, stamping, like we hot stamp to a precise heat and pressure, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about how we make these. All right, so let's go into this Tony the Ant in English Tan Dublin. Take a look at that incredible grain character on the outside. And I love the English Tan Dublin and the black Dublin because of all this natural character. A lot of leathers in the world are very heavily finished. So they start to look more like plastic or paint at a certain point. So for me, it's like, why would you bother buying leather if it looks like something else? I really like the natural character, and the English Tan Dublin has really incredible natural character because it's an aniline finished leather. And aniline means that we're not adding any solids into the stain coats of this leather. Take a look here at this Tony the Ant in an incredible piece of black marbled shell cordovan. And the shell cordovan is also an aniline finished leather. So you get to see all the natural character in here. I love these horizontal different colors. Sort of like a sunset here, maybe upside down sunset on the black marble shell cordovan. It ranges from a dark green, more of like a forest green black, to sometimes this orangey tan, and I really love all of the variation in between there. Sometimes you get a subtle gradient, sometimes it's a little bit more dramatic. And wow, this wallet is incredible. This is a color number 8 marbled shell cordovan Johnny the Fox. I need to start picking up the pace here because there's so many great wallets to show you. This one I'm going to linger on for a moment because I was talking about that sunset effect. There's something about these color 8 marbled shells that really remind me of a sunset. And I think what's cool about it is it doesn't look contrived at all. And that's because these are all random. Horween's not trying to make it look like any specific thing. They're just scraping away colors. And that's how we get this great look. On the inside of this color 8 marbled Johnny the Fox is a mock horsehide interior. We were talking about naturally thin pieces of leather for the Fox interior. This is that horsehide I was talking about, but on a different leather tannage called latigo. And talking about attention to detail again, this leather we specifically had requested from Horween, and they were able to fulfill something that's thin, super durable, and have nice aging characteristics. So that's what we get in this horsehide latigo. Here's another Tony the Ant. This one is in a beautiful piece of natural shell cordovan. By the way, all the wallets in the video today are shipping out today. So I can't wait for you to have these. You should be getting them within the next week. Take a look at that beautiful ink stamp cut right in the center. We try to cut those there when possible as well. That's another little detail that's not easy to do. We make it look easy, but it's not easy to cut that one ink stamp that each shell gets into a nice visible spot. And speaking of which, here's another natural shell cordovan, but this one is the Bugs Moran. A little bit different here. Both of these are the same color, but the only difference between the Tony the Ant on top and the Bugs Moran on the bottom is a bill slot. And speaking again of attention to detail, I'm trying to make this video about, We shrunk down the Bugs Moran because it does not have that bill slot. Originally, the Bugs Moran looked just like this Tony on the top here, with this wider gap in the center. If you look there, the distance between the card holders is finer on the Bugs Moran and a little bit wider on the Tony the Ant. We thought it was a little bit more compact to have the Bugs Moran be stitched a little closer together. So we refined this pattern a few times to make it just the perfect size to hold in your hand, but it also makes it even better for a front pocket wallet. And I have one more natural shell cordovan piece to show you. Check out this shell on this Johnny the Fox. Really great, bright, shiny luster, perfectly smooth, very much a mirror-like finish. That's what we're looking for in shell cordovan. Take a look at the inside as well. We have more of that horsehide interior, and this is a little bit confusing. This color is called mock. And that is a term that's an old tannery term, and I believe it's just a shortened form of moccasin. So it's a light sand, sort of yellowy tan shade. I think it fits perfectly well with the natural shell on the outside. Now we have a couple Valet trays to show you today. This one is in black chromexcel. And we're talking about attention to detail today, so let's go into this. It's a very simple design here to make a Valet tray. This one, we've taken extra care in the leather portion of it. And that's sort of the theme of Ashland, is we're really focusing on the leather here to get something absolutely perfect for whatever we're making. So the black chromexcel that we've chose to use is a mill-dyed black chromexcel, which is not a standard chromexcel. Most chromexcel is naturally finished, and then they're staining a coverage over the top. So if you look for most black boots, black chromexcel boots, they will not have a black backside or flesh side to the leather like this one has. Usually it's a little bit more of like a nice natural tan. That's not necessarily better or worse, but for something like a Valet tray where you get to see the cross section here of the leather and the backside, I thought it was really important for us to use a mill-dyed, which is mill-dyed chromexcel, which is a little bit more premium. And the other thing that we've done on this Valet tray is to fill in that flesh side with a little bit of a heavy resin coat. We try to do that on just about all of our leathers because I don't like using liners. I think liners tend to rip, they bulk up the thickness. So I much prefer to use the leather in as close to a natural state as possible. So filling in and ironing smooth the flesh side of this, I think just makes it a little bit more special. And here's another brand new Valet tray for us in the English Tan Dublin. I've been really into the English Tan Dublin on all of our wallets, so we started making it in the Valet tray. Now, the reason that we couldn't just take the leather from the Johnny the Fox and use it on the Valet tray is because the Johnny the Fox is that 4-ounce thickness we were talking about, with roughly 2-3 ounce thickness for the card holders on the inside here. For the Valet tray, I needed it to be a little bit more substantial, but not as substantial as our belts. So there's a thickness in between. This is more of like a boot weight thickness, roughly 5 to 6 ounces that I prefer for the Valet tray. I think that's where you get the proper substance. So it's not too floppy, but it's also not too bulky and thick. So I think the Valet trays here in the English Tan Dublin are super cool. We've done the same thing, finishing in the flesh side of this. So it has that nice subtle sheen. It doesn't look very suede. It gives it a little bit more resilience as well. All right, here is something extra special from our custom shop. And we do semi-custom requests and fulfill them when we can. This is one of those requests. This is something that we call the Jumbo Fox. It's very similar to the Johnny the Fox, but we have one additional card slot on each side with an additional bill slot divider. So you have your normal bill slot here. We've added a little divider, and I think that looks really great on the inside. This is all black reverse shell cordovan. We can't make too many different versions of the cordovan for the interior because we need those naturally thin pieces of leather that I have been talking about. But take a look at this leather on the outside. This is that new version of shell cordovan that Horween is calling tumbled shell. And this is in the color blue. So we're calling it tumbled blue shell cordovan. I love the random texture and pebbling that's happened on this shell. And it sort of has a color shift to it. Certain angles it's a little darker, and other angles it's a little bit more blue, like greenish blue gray. That is really neat, and it definitely has the texture that it looks like. It feels how it looks. Very cool. Johnny the Fox here, going out today. I can't wait for you to have this one. This is one of my favorite wallets that we've ever made. And up next, this is a Bugs Moran in black shell cordovan. This is one of the 2 classic shell colors. A very sleek look on the black shell. I like how the light reflects off of this. It sort of makes all of the angles look really, really interesting. It's more bright and shiny in person than you could even imagine. So sometimes it's really tricky for me to capture this color on the cameras here because the light just blasts right into the lens. Take a look at the inside too. We've cut that Horween ink stamp right in the center. These Bugs Marins are great because they're perfectly handheld. These are really good for minimalist front pocket wear. All right, and you're looking at the last cigar shell cordovan Johnny the Fox with a reverse interior. And we had made a special small batch of these. I think we made 8 of them. I should look at my notes before I do these videos, but we only made a handful of these. That's because the cigar shell cordovan is very difficult to get. Cigar shell is a little bit less burgundy when you compare it to something like the Color 8 shell cordovan. And the Color 8 is that really classic cordovan color. When you think of the word cordovan, you probably think of the color cordovan as well. It's a dark brown burgundy shade. This cigar is more of a neutral brown. So we kill a little bit of that red in the Color 8, and this is sort of what you get. Take a look at the inside though. This is reverse cigar shell cordovan, which has a little bit of the green, and that green that you're seeing in there is the color that they use in the dye mix to kill some of the burgundy red tones that the Color 8 has. So that's how we neutralize this brown to make it a little bit more of a true brown. And man, this is a really cool Johnny the Fox. You're getting a look at the last one here. Can't wait for you to have it. Up next, this is a vault key holder in whiskey shell cordovan. And when you compare the whiskey shell cordovan to something like the natural, you'll notice that the whiskey is a little bit more golden, a little bit darker in color, maybe a little bit more yellow. And a lot of people ask that question, what's the difference between the natural, the whiskey, and the amaretto? Well, the natural's the lightest, a little bit more of a true tan, slightly orange tint to it. The whiskey is a little darker, a little bit more yellow. And I don't have an amaretto in front of me here, but the amaretto is much more orange, more vibrant, much more of an orangey tan shade than compared to this whiskey shell. On the vault key holder, this one has one snap closure on the front here, and then these 2 screw posts on the left and right. This is where you can hold 3 keys on each side. Up next, this is a Frank the Enforcer in color number 8 Chrome Excel, and it's not the Color 8 shell cordovan. It's the same color name as that sort of burgundy, dark brown color. It's very nice. On the Chrome Excel, I noticed it's a little bit lighter in color, a little bit more cherry, and the shell cordovan is a little darker, a little bit more brown. But on these wallets in particular, we have to also mess around with the thickness. We have to pick specifically thick and thin pieces for all of these layers. If this doesn't have the right thickness of leather, it just doesn't lay flat when you're loaded up. And the other thing that we do on this Chrome Excel, if you look in the inside, this one has a resin finish again, like most of our stuff does. On the inside of this wallet, we filled in all those fibers to make it a little smoother. So when you put your cards and cash inside and out, it should slide in and out a little bit more easily. And one more Frank the Enforcer to show you. This is a raw shell cordovan. Let's compare that again to the natural shell. Take a look at the luster difference first. The natural shell cordovan, the normal stuff, very, very bright and shiny, very much a mirror-like finish. The raw shell cordovan is similar, but has not been polished. So it doesn't have that same luster to it. It does have a subtle sheen, but it's nowhere near as bright and shiny as the regular shell cordovan, like you can see there. The other thing that's really incredible about the raw shell, and it had been a dream of mine for many years, was a leather that would develop an incredible patina. So this raw shell ages to look like this. It's a Fat Herbie that I had worn for a year. Take a look at the difference in color. The difference in luster is very dramatic. This raw shell cordovan ages better than any leather that I have seen, and this is a Frank the Enforcer in that raw shell. We did a small batch of these. I believe we only have one left, so I can't wait for you to experience the patina on this guy. Here's another Johnny the Fox, but this one's in the black Dublin, and for me, the black Dublin is the best black leather that you can find anywhere. We were talking about aniline finishes earlier. This one is very much an aniline finish. Most black leathers, generally speaking, are very finished. The black Dublin here is the only black leather that I've seen with any amount of nice grain character to it. On the inside, we have black horsehide latigo, similar to the mock horsehide we were looking at earlier, just in the black color. And I love the blacked out look of this wallet. The outside is black, the inside is black. All of the edges on this Johnny the Fox are black, and even on the inside, the bill slot, behind the bill slot, everything is black on this. So I love the stealthed out look on this Johnny the Fox. And here's another Dublin wallet. This one is 100% cobalt blue Dublin. So we have the cobalt blue Dublin on the outside with the cobalt blue Dublin on the inside. Again, we had to make specifically thin horse hides for this Dublin interior. This is a really cool Johnny the Fox. I think we have maybe 5 of these left. We did a small batch of these as well. It seems like people are more into the English tan Dublin, which I can't blame them. They're both really nice. If you're into a blue leather, this is the best blue that I have right now. The cobalt blue Dublin, as well as the intense blue shell cordovan, the only 2 blue colors that I have. So people that are into a blue wallet, you might want to check this one out. I think it's really special. And one more Giant of the Fox to show you. This is also in the color number 8 Chrome Excel leather. Really nice subtle sheen to it. And you'll know a nice piece of Chrome Excel when you see it because it has that pleasant sheen to it. The Chrome Excel is very nicely polished by Horween, so it should appear very flat and polished, but it also is characterized by this effect called the pull-up. So if you look at the spine of this wallet, you can see how the color has slightly transformed where I flex it. Or if I just pull from underneath, you'll notice that the color changes. It gets a little bit lighter, and that's because we're displacing the waxes that have been tanned into the leather. And this effect is called the pull-up effect, which is really interesting to see on footwear, and it actually makes for an incredibly comfortable shoe. You might want to check out any company that's making boots, shoes, maybe boat shoes out of the Chrome Excel leather. It's undoubtedly going to be one of the most comfortable shoes you've worn, if not the most comfortable. On the inside, we have another one of those black horsehide interiors. I think the black and Color 8 pair very nicely. The other thing that we've done on the Color 8 Chrome Excel, again, we've stained in and finished the unintended backside of the leather to get a little bit of that burgundy color on the inside of the wallet as well. Oh, I think I said that was the last Giant of the Fox, but I have 2 more Giant of the Foxes to show you. This one up first is Natural Lancaster. This is sort of similar to the English tan Dublin, but if you were to imagine the Dublin without wax, that's what the Lancaster is. It's a very nice natural veg. A very great silky feel almost. It's like a velvety feel, which is very pleasant. These age very nicely with a mock horsehide interior. The other Giant of the Fox to show you, this is a teal latigo, which is the same latigo that we use on the insides of the Giant of the Foxes, just in a different thickness and in a steer hide. So this is not horse. You'll notice if you look very carefully at the horse hides and the steer hides, the grain is actually slightly different. I'm not sure how well I'll be able to demonstrate that, but the horse hides tend to be a little bit more grainy, a little bit more pronounced grain. Like if you take a look at the left side of this Giant of the Fox, look at all the very fine detail in there if you can see it. Much more intense grain character on the horses, but the latigo is about as intense of a grain character that I have seen on a steer hide, and that's also very, very nice. This teal latigo ages incredibly. Actually, it starts to darken up and look similar to the color of the denim that is below it. So these latigo pieces age and develop very nicely. All right, the last wallet I wanted to show you today, take a look at this reverse interior, and this is an ultraviolet reverse. I love the random dye marks on the ultraviolet reverse. There's sort of these pink purple colors that I just think are remarkable, and all those are random, so we can't really control it. It's almost like a Jackson Pollock painting or something. I think that just makes it extra special. Take a look at the shell on the outside. This is that ultraviolet shell cordovan, and some angles it kind of reminds me of a Color 8, like at this angle maybe, and then other angles you can really tell that it's a vivid purple. And it's hard to, I've noticed that this is hard to capture on photos and videos, but in person, the color shift and just the depth of this color is remarkable. So I can't wait for you to have this Bugs Moran. This is a really great piece. I'm going to try to pick my stunner. Today, this Bugs is probably number 3, but this is a remarkable piece. The number 2 stunner of the day, I'd have to say this tumbled blue shell Jumbo Fox, but there was something magical about this guy here. Yeah, this one. This Color 8 marbled. Just there's something magical about this piece. And I think it's the contrast between the orange and the burgundy and this marbled fox. Man, that is cool. So a lot of great stuff. We talked a lot about the details of some of the stitching and crafting that we do. But generally speaking, most of what we do is let the leather do the work for us. We're not trying to manipulate the leather too much. It's kind of like cooking a steak or something. You don't want to just cover it in gravy. You just want to have like a nice cut of meat and just put a little salt and pepper on it and just cook it right. And that's what we're trying to do with all of our leather goods. So thanks for checking out the video today. Let me know what your stunner was. There's a lot of good stuff to choose from. These are all shipping out today. I can't wait for you to have them. And until next time, I hope you have a good one.